Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Last Best Hope for Conversation, your Babylon 5 podcast. I am in the CNC. My name is Jesse Jackson. Joining me is Karen Lindsay.
Hello.
And Lou Sisma.
Hello, everyone.
And we are back. You guys will not notice it, but we've had a couple-week break, but we had a couple of episodes in the can. So we are on Season 2. Episode 2, G'Kar brings news of a terrible new enemy. The arrival of Sheridan's sister opens up old wounds for the new commander. Dr. Franklin employs an unorthodox procedure to try to bring Garibaldi out of his coma. Delenn's mysterious change is completed. So once again, another episode that had a lot going on. JMS has said this wasn't quite part 2. But in a lot of ways, it was from the start. So, Lou, quick thoughts.
Well, if this is the way season 2 is going to be, this episode was quite a revelation in itself.
I love that, Karen.
All right, I have mixed feelings about this episode. A lot of stuff happened that I'm happy about, that I'm looking forward to seeing through the season. However, I feel like there was a lot of expositional dialogue.
Yeah, between
Johnny, Sheridan and
Johnny.
Right. Yeah. And I, as Lou has said several times, I'd rather see and not tell. And there was a lot of telling in this episode, which muted my excitement of it. But again, lots of good things. It's just that the expositional stuff was a little boggy for me.
But damn, do the Sheridans know how to coif their hair?
Yes, they
Big time.
Both had nice haircuts.
Oh, and we had a Ishara Yar sighting.
A what?
His dead wife was Ishara Yar from The Next Generation, Tasha Yar's sister.
Ah, okay.
She had a big episode in The Next Generation. So
Okay.
All
right. So do we want to start right with dessert and talk about Delenn, or do we work our way up to Delenn?
Let's talk about Delenn.
All right, let's just rip the Band-Aid off. Hey,
let's do.
So Karen, what the F?
Now, Lou ruined this for me.
Yes, if you have seen the DVD,
that's all right.
DVD pictures, or in almost if you Google Babylon 5, you would have seen this. So let's pretend for a moment you weren't spoiled. Karen, what about the big reveal?
Yeah, I gotta say, when I Googled like pictures for our logo and stuff, I Googled Babylon 5 ship.
Yeah.
So I didn't get pictures of Delenn or the cover or whatever. And if I did, I don't remember seeing them. And then Lou showed the DVD cover. And again, I stream it, so I don't see the DVD. Yeah. And so that was quite a surprise for me. Not in the episode when Lou showed me. And I thought it was really cool how she didn't just come out human looking. She came out and she had like that dermatitis.
She had grayscale.
It
was like
gray.
Game of Thrones.
But not just that. We have the Gray Council.
Yes,
Gray
absolutely.
Scale. Okay, so she had that going on. That was cool. That, the doctor came to see her and she said she wasn't ill. What did the doctor do for her? I don't know. Peeled off a little part of it. We didn't see that he did anything else, right? I mean, so did he help her get the scales off? I don't know. Whatever.
A lot of baby lotion, maybe, right?
I assume so.
Let's yes.
Yeah. Or calamine. Is that what you use for sunburns? Calamine
yes,
lotion?
exactly. Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah.
And mosquito bites, calamine lotion. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Good for itchy. So, yeah, that was cool that we didn't just get, like, her big reveal coming out like that. And I liked seeing Lanier again in this episode. He's defending her right to be on the council, the Babylon 5 council, not the Gray Council. And I don't know. I liked it. I like how she looks with the hair. It's very cool.
Lou?
Raises lots of questions. And Part of the thing is because we've been, as you mentioned, we haven't podcasted for a couple of weeks. So I've had more time to think, so I've had a lot more questions. I'm curious. I'm obviously right off the bat. The first question is, why would she take on a more human appearance? Was this because she's not the first one to undergo this process? We're correct. I believe that
is slightly spoilery.
Okay,
but that is a
no. But they mentioned it that it had only been done once or twice before.
Yes,
right. So, and I don't know what happened to those in those incidents of what transformation those people went under. So, if that's what you're referring to as spoilery, that's fair. But I'm just curious as to why she would take a more human appearance. And then the other question that I had is the castles of Dunshire. That device,
cones of Dunshire.
The cones. Sorry, I like castles better.
That's all right.
Cones of Dunshire. Yeah, that apparatus. She was building that way before this whole storyline came up. So was she anticipating this particular scenario, or does this device have more than one purpose? So I'm questioning that whole, like, it's cool that thing was there before it was actually used, but my question is, why is that device there if she didn't know that she was going to get the triluminary, right? The triluminary? Or triangulate or whatever it was called.
Oh yeah.
So
I don't remember.
So that's another question I have. And it's interesting that a lot of their shapes seem to be pyramids. So are we going to get into chariots of the gods and Egyptians and all this stuff? I don't know. But
yeah, that thing on their forehead too.
Yeah. So I don't know. Is there an Egyptian connection here? I don't know. But that whole machine thing now is bugging me as to why she was building it before she knew that was going to happen. But it's going to be interesting going forward, obviously, to see how she behaves now. And is her demeanor or is her character going to change? And yeah. And on a real world perspective, was this something that was always planned by JMS, or was the actor just saying, I can't stand wearing this makeup anymore, so please make it less intrusive? I don't know.
So I've got a couple things for you that are behind the scenes and speculation on my part, and I'm sure our listeners will let us know. I believe this was in game for Delenn. That's why she was on Babylon 5. I believe this was what she was determining. She said when she got in front of the League that this was to better unite Earth and Minbari, is what she said. So I think we can take her on her word. Behind the scenes, this was always planned.
Okay.
And in fact, JMS says that it actually takes more time on makeup doing this than it was her previous, because there's more nuances about the hair and the thing. In others, it was just you put it on and go. With this, there's actually takes longer.
Interesting.
A big reveal was he had planned for Delenn to be male before this transition.
Oh, okay.
And then the character would have gone from male, totally Minbari, to female, half human, half Minbari. But they couldn't get the voice right. And so they gave up that. But that was his initial storyline,
right?
Is it would be a total metamorphosis, and you would go from a Minbari male to a half human, half Minbari female.
And would it have been a different actor, or would they just try to change her voice?
No, it would have been the same actor. Okay. They would have changed her voice and then had that. Yes.
Okay.
So this is a spotlight that this is very important to the long-term story of her changing. It leads to a lot of different storylines and some big reveals down the road.
Okay. Is that also her real hair?
I do not know that.
Okay. Or is it a wig? Maybe that's why.
I do not know.
Because I'm trying to figure out why the makeup would be harder, because now she just basically wears that wraparound head thing. And everything else would just be her. So
let's see.
Interesting.
So yeah, I think this is really interesting. She really did. This gives her a little more facial expression.
Yep.
So I'm really liking that. Yeah, it says the plan was to turn Delenn from male to female in chrysalis. In my original plan, as well as making her half human. And yes, it would have been one hell of an impact. But my concern when I made that decision not to do this back in the pilot was based on the reality we couldn't do it well. The male voice, altered by computer enhancement, just sounded real bogus. We couldn't get it right, and I had to decide between dropping it and doing something that people would rightly describe as lame all season just for one big payoff. It was a tough call, but it had to be made.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah. All right, so I'm glad they didn't stretch it out. I think the 2 episodes was the right pacing. We had the first episode where she's indisposed, and we got a lot of great comedy with Lanier.
Mm-hmm.
She is unavailable. And now in this time he got to do. So I think that we will see more. I do think when I'm glad to see her in this mode now, because this is how I think of her when I think of the character. And so that first season was kind of, oh, I'm actually, this is kind of more comfortable for me.
Hmm.
All right. We get Garibaldi being Garibaldi when he wakes up. And I guess we'll talk about, we have Chekhov's magical machine.
Mm-hmm.
It was in earlier, and now they're using it. I think one of my favorite scenes is John Sheridan asking a lot of good questions and then showing up and saying, I'm going to do this. If you're going to do this, I'm going to do it with you. And I love the doctor going, but you don't even know him. And he's like, he's my guy. Once I took command, he's my responsibility. I don't think it's safe you doing this by yourself. So strap me up. And I thought that was a nice moment between Marcus and John. Lou, I'll start with you this time. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, that was all good stuff. I appreciated the use of the machine. I think it was from Quality of Mercy, right? And God, what's her name? The mom from Lost in Space. Can't remember her name.
June Lockhart.
June Lockhart, thank you. So that's a nice callback. And Sheridan's acceptance of taking this risk with this unproven technology is good. So I liked all of that. And yeah, it shows that he's a man of action. And for just restricting it to that particular part of the storyline, then it was pretty straightforward, but I appreciated it. And then I thought it was a good character beats for all of the characters involved.
Yeah. Karen?
Yeah, I love that we had the callback to that episode. And I'm happy that the doctor chose to use it, because when we saw that original episode with that device, I was hoping that perhaps he would have cause to investigate it further or to use it for something. And to use it to help Garibaldi, I think, was the best use of it. He's important to the station. He's just important enough to use it, not to use it on some random person that comes on the ship. So that was good. I love that we had the callback to it. And I think the doctor and Sheridan played it well. That part, I have no qualm with that part of the storyline. In fact, I loved that part of the storyline. And the fact that they share it off and on, and this shows how dedicated Sheridan's going to be to Babylon 5. I mean, there was lots of implications along with that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it was a really nice moment. And I also love when Garibaldi wakes up, his immediate thought is, because he doesn't know how long he's been out, we've got to save the president. And they tell him, and he's like, I got to talk to the commander. And they go, well, hey, things have changed. And I love that. I'm out for a little bit and everything goes to hell in a handbasket. You know, that's so Garibaldi.
Why did Sheridan know they were going to get along? I mean, they don't know each other, and Sheridan's like, I think we'll get along just fine. And then I'm like, okay, really? You really think you're going to
I think because now, once again, this is me filling in the lines. This is not based on future. I think Sheridan obviously read everyone's files as he was getting command, looked at the history of that, know that Garibaldi is a man of action. And I bet he went, that's probably how I would feel if I woke up and my commander was changed. We're going to get along fine.
Right. Okay.
That's my thought is like, okay.
I mean, I didn't have any complaints about it.
Right.
It's just something I was like, well, how does he know that? So, yeah.
I love Garibaldi. You see, I don't know you.
Yes, exactly. Right. Just flat. Yeah. And I would argue, I might try to say that was because he was just out of anesthetic, but nah. No. If he was fully awake, he would go, I don't know you.
I don't trust you.
Yeah. And I'm curious to see how their relationship goes forward. I mean, it's great that Sheridan and Susan get along, but I would like to see some tension between him and Garibaldi. And I'm hoping that the fact that he lost the the prisoner is going to be part of that friction because I don't know if he even informed Garibaldi that he was doing that transfer. So that could be fodder for some good friction going down the road.
Yeah, this is not Star Trek where everyone gets along, so there should be some friction because you have different personalities. Even Jeff and Garibaldi, as close as they were, had frictions back and forth. All right, so let's talk about that. We have Talia playing the psychic card. She helps them figure out what's going on. I wonder... and I do not know if this is the case, but the way Garibaldi played that, the actor, I almost wonder if he knew who it was anyway, and that's why he said, oh no, I didn't know it, because he was trying to be cautious, because we did have the guy behind pulling his gun and just setting that. So, Karen, thoughts on this storyline that we get the reveal of the assassination? He says that there is something going on. There is a bigger plot than this. And then he mysteriously, the president makes him leave Babylon 5 and then mysteriously disappears. All that.
Okay.
Have fun.
Okay, so I think he wasn't 100% sure if what he saw when he was shot was what really happened. I think that Talia it was him refreshing his memory, trying to confirm that that's actually what happened. At least that's kind of my feeling about it.
Was that supposed to be a mirror that he was seeing the guy's image in, or
a reflection in the ship wall or something?
Yeah.
I assume so.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was weird.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it was clearer. They made it look clearer to us. I would hope that in real life it would just be a half image of him in the reflection.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I like that he knew and he didn't really get into it until it was time to take the dude into custody. I like how they took him into custody. They decoyed him and then pulled him out into the hallway, and that dude went ape crap on him.
Lou.
Yeah, exactly. And it shows how much Garibaldi has the respect of the people around him, that they just went right after him.
Yeah, and I love that where he goes, you won't believe this, Delenn's got wings.
Yeah.
Okay, and then they get them. And I love that Sheridan goes, I appreciate the thought, but no, we're going to do, oh, how dare you, soldier. He's like, nah, I get why you want to do this, but let's play it by the book.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's world weary, right, from being in the war and everything. So I assume he does understand that, the loyalty to your commander kind of thing. And I like that beat as well, that Sheridan, he gets it.
Yeah.
And even though he doesn't know Garibaldi very well, he feels like this dude needs to pay for doing what he did.
Yeah.
The scene where Garibaldi goes in and talks to Mr. Bad Guy. I'm sorry.
Garibaldi's aide.
Yeah, whatever he is.
That's what he was listed as.
Really? Is that what he was listed as? Yeah. He goes in to talk to him.
By the way, according to Lurker's Guide, his name is Jack. Okay. But it's only seen it's a very scene. So JMS had to say, well, by the way, it's Jack. So.
Okay. So let's call him J.O.
Okay.
The second word being off.
I love that.
So Jack, that cryptic talk he has with Garibaldi, we know it's not Home Guard now. And we now have suspicion because of Garibaldi's suspicion that it's the Psi Corps. And why that dude would give away who he's working for with the little tip of the hat thing, I don't know, but I get it. At least that's showing and not telling. And I think the dude played it very well. The guy who plays Jack, he was very sinister, but in a smarmy kind of way. And we had suspicions, I think, all three of us, or at least Lou and I, that the vice president was going to be embroiled in this whole thing. And now it kind of proves it, that they got rid of the president to put this guy in office because he's sympathetic. and there's a huge plot going on. We don't know what it's about yet. Are they trying to whitewash the world or what? Or are they doing something psychically because it's the psych court? I don't know. So I thought that storyline in this episode was done really well.
Lou?
That's another layer in the whole, there's a lot going on in this episode. So this is just like another thread that we'll have to pull on later on. That signal, that hand sign that Jack gave, you just can't help in today's day and age. Like if you're watching the news or anything, of course, this is like the QAnon salute. Obviously, if you go back to World War II, there's the Heil Hitler salute as well. So
what's funny, Lou, is I'm Googling that right now to look for that, that they have that okay sign that is, so it's very, very similar to it. I don't know. I would think that was a deliberate thing by JMS.
Yeah, for sure.
Based on it. By the way, I got feedback from my brother. It's like, are y'all going to always be political? And I'm like, Dean, we try not to be overly political, but sometimes this show is very political, and it is, despite this year's so many years old, as all good shows are, this is very prevalent almost 20 years later. So anyway, I thought the same thing. This kind of almost human superiority. Yes. Yeah.
Like a tip of the cap with the okay sign. Yeah.
So your brother listens, eh?
Yes, he did.
Oh,
yes.
Cool. Sorry, bro. Yeah. Sorry about that. We do try to keep it to a minimum, but it's sometimes art is a mirror of the society. You just can't help but make those connections.
Yeah, I think JMS did that on purpose.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
The reason we pull that is because I think he did. He pulled from real political
Absolutely,
events,
yes.
So.
But the other inference I got from that moment was that Jack knew that he was going to be rescued or set free, whatever.
I think so too.
Yep.
Absolutely.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah.
Is he, as he said,
he was very smug.
You have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
I mean, this is so above you.
Yeah.
And you can do whatever you want, but I know that I have friends in high places that are going to take care of me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the other thing that I'm carrying from this thread was that, again, and jumping back to Sheridan releasing the prisoner, is if he didn't inform Garibaldi, because I'm sure Garibaldi, if he had been given these orders to do this, I'm sure he would have made copies of all the data that was pertaining to this situation. Whereas I think Sheridan just outright gave him everything and they have no records anymore. So that could be another point of contention between Garibaldi and Sheridan. And who knows, maybe Garibaldi's got his own private backup server or something anyhow, but we'll see.
Because we made a point, the president said, I want everything.
Yeah.
I want every copy.
Yeah.
And I do think if Garibaldi would have been, I think that's a great point. Garibaldi would have said, oh, absolutely. I sent you everything. Here's a side data crystal that no one knows about.
Yep.
We gave you everything, Mr. President. No one needs to know about this data crystal.
Yep, exactly.
Don't look over here.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that honestly that Sheridan is smarter than that. If you remember, he turned around so that the new president couldn't see his face when he was talking to him. And I think maybe that's because he didn't want to let on that he got that something else was going on. So I wouldn't be surprised if he kept backup copies and gave. Yeah. I mean, I just wouldn't.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either, but I think it would be a better character moment for him if he learned his lesson in this particular instance, because I like the reference that he made to Susan at the end of the episode. It says it's very cold up here, and I think that's when he had a revelation that he made a mistake. But I might be wrong. Maybe I misread that moment wrong.
No, I think that's very well done. And it would, I think, I honestly cannot remember if this comes up again. The storyline certainly comes back again. By the way, thoughts on not necessarily the actor, but the character of the president. I think he looks like a weasel. I mean, he's not.
He looks like a politician.
This guy would not get elected. He doesn't have that good.
I don't know. Ted Cruz got elected.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
He looked like a politician.
Worst.
Yeah.
All right. So we have two other storylines. We have G'Kar talking about the Book of Jaquan, and that it was in the prophecy that there was a creature, there was a threat to the galaxy, the shadows that will return. He is convinced this is happening. We know he is correct. Everyone else doesn't, which I love that storytelling, the process of that type of storytelling, that we know he's correct while everyone else is just concerned. We have the return of Morden, who says, oh, he's all smiles and smiles till Londo makes the joke. Well, why don't you destroy the Narn homeworld? All one thing at a time. Like, don't jump ahead. Yep. We don't play Bohemian Rhapsody as our first song if we're Queen, right? Like, we don't open with Born to Run if we're Springsteen. Like, hold on. And then he tells Morden tells his people the Narn ships are destroyed, and G'Kar thinks something's going on. So, Lou, how about you? How about that storyline?
For this particular episode, that was actually my favorite storyline, this interweaving between G'Kar and Londo, because Londo is getting in deeper with the Shadow Man, Morden. And it's like you said, like he made that joke about destroying the Narn home world, and the guy said one thing at a time, and his reaction was like, whoa, are you seriously could do that? Like that, it's hard to watch in a way, because I really have come to like Londo, and I don't like the path that he's going on. So, and they're making me like G'Kar, or making me feel sorry for G'Kar, because he's on the beam. Like he's trying, and I have no illusions that he would try to manipulate this situation to his advantage if he could. But right now he's operating in the dark, so he's being played. They had that nice beat where he said, the only other person that knew about this, and then he looks over at Londo, and Londo just looks right back at him. I thought that was well played. So I really enjoy this whole storyline. Again, I have to question, like the Narn, they have this old book that has documented this previous encounter with these beings. Like, I don't know how old these races are, but if the Narn had space travel that far back that's in a book, like, wouldn't they have really sophisticated space travel now? So there's this time thing here that, again, because I don't have the context of the history of the race, that makes that a little hard to buy or understand, but I'm hoping that will become more clear as the show progresses. So there's a lot going on here. The thing that really stood out for me was the scenes with Londo and Morden, is he had that grin on his face. I don't know if you would call that a shit-eaten grin, but like he was like...
He always has that like frozen, like no matter what you say, he has that frozen, like you can't touch me.
It's like a funeral parlor director's smile, even though he's dealing, you really... Yeah. What you think is good news, but it's actually really bad news, and he's just really smiling. But as soon as Londo gave him some intel about the Narn destroyer showing up at that planet, that smile was gone, and he was he was just like a totally different person in that moment. So I like the interaction between those two characters quite a bit, and I'm really curious to see where that whole storyline is going to go. As obviously, as well with G'Kar and Londo, when this is going to come to a head, has to come to a head at some point as well.
So before I get Karen's thoughts, a couple things. One, what I noticed when I rewatched the pilot is they set up Londo as the fool, the character for comedy relief, and G'Kar as the villain. If you two rewatch the pilot, you'll go, oh yeah, that's how they're setting it up. Yeah. And now then in the second season, they flipped it. You're now feeling that maybe G'Kar, we feel sorry for him, maybe he is doing something, and Londo is on his path to be possibly the big bad. And I love it. This is a specific thing. JMS talked about this. I wanted to do this. I wanted to do those tropes of setting characters up and then changing it so that as the audience, you go, hey, wait a minute. My only thought is they may have been able to see the shadow ships even from their home world. In other words, they weren't necessarily in the stars. Maybe the shadows were able to go on the atmosphere and they were able to see. That's the only thing I could think. I don't know right offhand. And once again, some of our listeners will probably tell us that Jesse's full of S again and he missed it. But that's what my thought is. And this is very, very old. It is similar like looking at the Quran or the Bible, that people may believe this is quote unquote myths, and depending on your belief. And so this is a very holy book that G'Kar is now going, oh, wait a minute, is this a prophecy? So very interesting. All right, Karen, with all that, jump in.
Yeah, it was apparently 1,000 years in the past. So that's a long time. And I got the same thing, that maybe they knew about them, but they weren't the same technological level. That it implies that. But
then how did they survive then?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, because he's making them sound like they're the Borg. They're going to wipe them out. And if they're not technologically advanced, then.
So this is not spoiler, because it's just a reminder. Remember Zathras, Great War.
Right. But that's in the future.
Okay.
No, or the past. Could it be? Because it's the time jump. We don't know.
He doesn't really specify.
Shit. I never even thought of that. Okay.
So something happened to stop them, I guess.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're
okay.
They're so sinister, mostly because we don't know anything about them. That they have an agenda. We don't know what it is. I mean, with the Earth Minbari War, we understood. They thought we assassinated their leader or their high priest or something like that, right? I can't remember his name. But I mean, there was a reason for that war, and it was cut and dry. We knew what it was, what they were fighting about. We don't know what these shadow people want, what their motivation is, why they have pulled Londo to them. Is it because they want a fall guy? I don't know. And Morden is so creepy. Like Lou said, that's a perfect analogy. The funeral director that takes joy in death, because it's his business. But
another reminder: remember, Morden went to multiple people,
right? Trying to sell this to multiple people,
trying to see who is the most susceptible to be part of his plan. Let's put it that way, right?
To corrupt, to use, for all that,
yeah.
And of course, Londo's the person that decides he's going to do that, because we know throughout the first season he's disgruntled about being placed on Babylon 5.
Yeah, and as JMS says, Londo's not a spring chicken, and at this point he feels like he has no chance to move forward, and now then, because of this gift Morden has gotten, all of a sudden his star on the rise. And so I link it to, I remember Jon Stewart talking on a sports show, that Bob Costas, when he was doing a talk show, he said, "You tell me I take steroids and I can be a funnier comedian, my career can last longer. I'm taking the juice."
Right.
So how do you blame a baseball player or a football player if you can extend your career, if you can make more money? Do you sell your future for this present, hoping things are going to work out? And so I think Londo knows this may be a bad path, but at the same point, it looks really good right now. So
yeah, and he even questions it. Is it going to come back to me? So there is that niggling doubt in his mind that Morden's going to sell him out. And I would think that as well, because we know that Morden, again, he has murky motivations, and is he going to sell him out? I think Londo's thinking about that right now, that Morden might not be in it for the right reasons. He might be in trouble. And I think that's why he goes to Morden with the intel, saying that, look, I'm still valuable. So let me keep working for you. Don't throw me under the bus. I think that's part of his motivation.
I think that is excellent. I had not thought of that, but I absolutely agree with that. I think that's really well done.
Yeah, I don't think he's dumb. I think he's smart enough to realize this dude might not want to get in bed with me. So yeah, there's that. And also, okay, there was something I was going to say and now I forgot. Oh, about the flipping of Londo and G'Kar. I think that was masterful, the way that was done. It was done not exactly over the whole first season as a morphing. I think it was done over the last 4 or 5 episodes where G'Kar was becoming more sympathetic and where Londo was losing some of his gesture qualities. And seeing it here, I always had a soft spot for G'Kar. And it's not because I didn't think he was sinister. It's because he's charismatic in a weird way.
He's very charming. He is very charismatic. He is that almost, because they're reptilian, that you stare at a snake and it's dangerous, but at the same time, very beautiful.
It's cool. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
So I got that vibe from him over the whole season, last season. And then to see him, JMS, to see him flip their roles in this gradual way, I thought was really great. As you guys know, I love characters that are bad guys, and I'm doing air quotes, bad guys, but you sympathize with something in them. They're not black and white. They're gray. They have tones of gray. Good. They're doing something for the right reasons, but it turns to be wrong. I really like that. And I think Londo is there now. He's kind of a bad guy. Again, I put it in air quotes because of all the stuff he does, but you understand why he does it.
He's a patriot. I mean,
exactly right.
He is a patriot. He believes that the Centauri have been downtrodden, and he wants to make Centauri great again.
Exactly.
MCGA. He has a purple MCGA cap on.
How can he wear a cap?
Yeah, well, that's true. Maybe not. Yeah,
maybe a shirt.
Yeah, or a visor.
A visor. Yeah. I can see that. A hoodie. There you go. Yeah. I can't imagine him putting on a ball cap.
Yeah.
But yeah, I dig that.
A couple of things I forgot to mention.
Sure.
Just from a visual aesthetic point of view, I like the design of the shadow races. Spaceships are electronical, organic. I was going
to bring that up too.
Squid-like thing. They pulse and move when they're firing their weapons. It almost looks like they're spitting something out. Thing. So so that's
they do look like living technology. That black shiny. I agree. I was going to say the same thing. I think it is a great design. It looks like a bad guy's, it's the black hat. It looks like this is a badass spaceship and you don't want to run into it in the dark of space. So great point.
Yeah.
It reminds me of like when you make snowflakes out of folded paper.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
And then you can pull it apart and make it into different shapes.
Yeah.
Which again, I mean, if that's a spaceship, that would scare me.
Yeah, absolutely.
How did they make that? That looks futuristic and scary.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And you can tell that JMS is well read because he has G'Kar quoting from Yeats's The Second Coming poem, which was a nice touch, and I have a special fondness for because Stephen King referenced that in The Stand with General Starkey talking about the center cannot hold. Mere anarchy is loosed upon the world, the blood-dimmed tide is loosed, and everywhere the ceremony of innocence is drowned. If this is not foreshadowing, then I don't know what is.
Yeah, and he has said that he feels like too many people do not embrace poetry or classic literature, and this is his little part that maybe someone will go, hey, look at that. I know once he mentioned Beckett, and someone said, oh, is that a Quantum Leap reference? And he said, God, please, there is other Sam Beckett.
In fact, I think the Quantum Leap, Sam Beckett was named after.
Yes, exactly.
The author, Beckett. And the other lines he quoted were, and what rough beast its hour come round at last, slouches towards Bethlehem to be born.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of foreshadowing there.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, even though I don't know what happens, that's foreshadowing.
Yeah, you're like, okay,
that's coming back.
Like House of Dragons, when they said the beast below the boards, you're like, okay, this is a prophecy, and then it happened. So, I think so. All right, the last storyline. This was a very
packed
episode.
Yeah.
John's sister comes and visit him, and he's dealing with guilt. He was married and he got busy with work the way you do. And she ends up going on a mission because they were supposed to have a holiday together. He got busy, said we're going to have to delay it. She ends up going on a mission and never comes back. She was lost. He feels guilty about it. And at the end, we get a reveal where she says, I feel bad that John's guilty. I'm going to let him stew on that a little bit. And then I'm going to come back and tell him, hey, no. I was already planning to go on this mission because it's too important. So thoughts on that storyline?
As Karen alluded to off the top of the episode, this was the part of the episode that while I understood the emotional arc that they were putting Sheridan through, the dialogue was so exposition heavy, and that it really felt like that old style Butler explaining the storyline dialogue. And it was just like, oh Johnny, oh Lizzie, oh Johnny. It's like, okay, we know each other's names now. Let's just talk to each other like regular people, because you don't talk to your wife or your spouse and say their name all the time unless you're trying to make a point because you're either angry or really happy or whatever. Normal conversation, you just talk to each other. So There was a lot of that, and she was filling in all the details about the mission and whatnot. That it was just a lot of exposition, which is too bad because I really thought that the two actors had good chemistry with each other.
Yeah.
I really bought their relationship as a brother and sister, and the story itself was sad. Though in dramatic TV, you have to kind of wonder if she's really dead, the wife of Sheridan, because especially with a ship named the Icarus.
Mm-hmm.
So again, that might just be JMS just likes to reference mythology, but we'll see what's going to go on with that. And if now that we've got time travel on the table, I mean, Sheridan might even want to go back in time and save her. I don't know. We'll have to see how that all plays out now. There's a lot of possibilities there. I understand the need to humanize Sheridan, but I just think that this was rushed too quickly. If they had to play out all this backstory, it should have been spread out a little bit more, maybe over 2 or 3 episodes. But it's too bad because I do like the actors that were involved, and I thought the storyline it's a good one. But I just think that in the execution of this, it was just too much, was too crammed into too short of a time period, and that's why it sounded so exposition heavy.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think the actors were good. The acting was good in that storyline. The 3 of them did a great job, but I think the writing for that storyline in this was just too talky.
On the nose.
Right. Yeah, just too much. And I do think the episode is packed. I don't think it feels packed, but I do think that he crammed a lot of story into them explaining it to us.
Yeah.
Instead of it unfolding. And I love that he does unfolding things. Like I said with G'Kar, that was unfolding over 10 episodes probably.
Yeah.
Starting as tiny little seeds. And this was like, here's the plant. It's already bloomed. No seed planted, just here it is. In the second episode, we're giving you all his motivation, all his backstory. And I would have liked to, I don't know, have it play out more, like maybe allude to it a couple times and then throw the sister in.
Yeah, like have them exchange emails over 1 or 2 episodes, and then she's going to say, okay, I've got to come and talk to you because we need to resolve this. That would have worked so much better.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Maybe there's too much story in the later episodes. Maybe he had stuff in mind that this was, okay, we need you to know this, but I got other stuff to tell you. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's cool if that's what he did, but it just, like Lou says many times, it's clunky. That storyline was clunky.
Do you feel like this was something important? And I'm not going to tell you whether you are or not.
Okay, yeah. The fact that this is part of his damage, this is part of his flawed nature, we're going to see that again. Whether it's specifically refers to his wife dying or something with his sister. I don't know, but it does add to the fact that I'm assuming he has like PTSD. It shows that he's carrying this weight.
Yeah.
And even though a little bit of it was relieved, knowing that it wasn't his fault that she died, he's still going to carry that. He's used to carrying it. It's a burden he's had. And it's not just going to go away. So, and like I said earlier, Ishara Yar, I enjoyed her in this. She was in, if you guys know, Star Trek The Next Generation Legacies, where they go to a planet and they encounter Tasha's sister. And it's a really good episode. So it was nice to see her even in that little thing that he plays.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. All right. Yeah, I thought the actress looked very familiar. I did notice that when they were eating, they were using chopsticks.
Yeah, for salad?
So, yeah, for salad. I was like, really? But it was nice to see. And we'll see if that is important down the road.
Okay, look, don't hate on the chopsticks. When I go to a teppanyaki place where they do the thing on the table, they serve me salad and I use the chopsticks for the salad.
I'm not hating. I've just,
it just looks weird because you didn't see any other food other than the salad.
Right.
That's why.
That they were going to use it for. Yeah. Like that's their default.
Yeah.
Yes.
Utensil is the chopsticks. Maybe that's a sentimental thing.
Made me think of Firefly that they did use that because the Chinese was such a big influence on Firefly. So all right. Anything else we need to cover on this very dense episode?
I'm getting a vibe between Sheridan and Susan, but we'll have to see if that, because like you said, because of his relationship with his wife, the guy is lonely, obviously. So I don't know. And they have a connection there, but we'll have to see.
Yeah. And did you see that Talia was super familiar with Garibaldi? I'll see you later.
Yeah,
that was kind of weird too. But now she knows. Like I don't know. Like again, we don't know the rules of the telepath. But if she made that connection with him, she's got to know his general personality and his character and that. Like, is that making him more attractive to her, or is she more repulsed? I don't know. But
I told you I shipped them.
Yeah.
I shipped them.
Yeah, I could see that.
I would ship Sheridan and Susan big time.
All right. Very nice. I love that.
But then, I ship anyone with Bruce Boxleitner because he's one of the people like a book boyfriend. Like when I read a romance novel, hey, that's a huge term. That's a big term.
I've never heard that before.
No, you haven't? No, when you read a book and you can picture the female lead and book boyfriend. Yeah. But he would be one of those people that like I see in my head as a leading man when I read.
Okay.
I still can't get over him and his sister, man. Their hairstyles were smoking. Like he has a nice coif, I'll say that.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm
Karen's waving. She's overheated.
Yes. I'm fanning myself.
Yes. I remember thinking he's off to a really good start.
Yep.
I think, I think he's fitting in. I like this. And I appreciate that you guys are saying, wow, the season's off to a good start. So it is, there will be episodes you go, but I think overall they're starting to hit their stride. So
and even though, like I said before, even though there was that clunky part, I overall enjoyed this episode.
Good.
So,
all right. Ratings. Karen?
I'm going to give it 8 skin tags. I don't know what to call those little things that came off.
Scales? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And Lou?
I'm going to give this 8.75 funeral smiles.
Oh, I like that. Well, in honor of Karen, I'm going to give it 9 out of 10 chopsticks eating salads.
Awesome.
Yes. So very nice. All right. So I'm going to start with you, Lou. Did we get any comments on the Facebook page?
Dale Sharp says, great reaction from the newbies. He loves this episode because I've watched this series several times. He's commentary with JMS on the episode. He said the opening scene with the zip fashion was to loosen up Sinclair. There was a lot of comments that he was too stiff. He did mention the blue spacesuit from 2010. He said Firefly also used that suit. I don't remember that, but
I don't remember that either.
Yeah.
But that okay.
MS Schoolard, I guess they agreed with Charles. So it's one of his favorite. And Zathras is a great character. So I'm going to have to keep waiting for Zathras to come back, because right now I'm not in love with him as much as everybody else seems to be. Chris M talks about interesting similarity between the Great Council and the feudal medieval English royalty. They would spend a lot of the time touring the country rather than being based in London. So that's interesting.
That is very interesting. I did not know that.
Yes. And what else we got here? Nathan's so he couldn't listen till the end. He's always irritated by longtime fans who tell newbies things they will see for themselves without a prompt. Okay, well, that's just the nature of this kind of conversation. So I really can't say too much for that. But
I try to do my best. It is sometimes you want to not going for a driver's ed course, and the guy said you're going to have a test. And so I am not allowed to tell you what is on the test. However, if I were you, I would think this would be something you should take a note on, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not allowed to tell you that this is important. But so I try to find the mixture of, because I don't want you guys to, I missed that. And then later come back and go, oh, wait, where did we see that sometime? So it's a little bit of mixing. Yeah.
I appreciate that as much as it frustrates me. I appreciate that because it makes me realize that something might come back that I would have glossed over.
Yeah.
Okay. And then for season 1, episode 22, Chrysalis got quite a few comments. Dale comments again. Great episode and reactions. He said he chuckled when the newbies were surprised with the cliffhanger. We got into that discussion about interracial dating, and he liked that Karen caught the wing flapping sounds with Kosh. And what else? And Simon talks about the fact that I mentioned you can't watch a hockey game without pretending they're not on ice. It's probably the most Canadian thing I've heard Lou say. Karen forgot that when you're making a chrysalis device, it's all about the cones. Yeah,
you have to put the brace. It's all about the cones. It was a line from Ben on Parks and Rec.
Yeah. I see you responded, so that's good. Graham says, I love hearing the weird homeless feelings about the lurkers. It's very much odd in space visions, but it's not unimaginable on a station that size. Having a place where people fall through the cracks in 2258 makes for great social commentary potential and discussions, which is quite true. And I think we referenced that. Yeah.
Yes, we did. Yes.
And Nathan's back again. He says, you guys can nitpick as much as you like. It never bothers me. And he says he loves those discussions. So, and then he goes on to some interesting comment here. He says, there was no map for Babylon 5 Worlds until the tabletop game came out years later. And the company that produced it made one up. It has some mistakes. Then he says that JMS was often asked, how fast do the ships move in hyperspace? And his answer was usually, speeds move with the speed of the plot.
That is a great line.
I like that. Yeah. It's Chris M. remarks on our comments about the character change appearance from the season 2 cover. Elaine of Schlott, I like that, says the season finale of season 1 only aired a week before the first episode of season 2 in the US. So I guess that was...
Since I watched it on TNT, I was not aware of that, but several people in emails to us mentioned that back then that PTN or whatever the network was not the most reliable. So, yeah.
Yeah. And then there's one from Texas, Anil Shock.
Yes.
Anil Shock, I guess.
Yes.
And Dr. Algernon Benway, they're both commenting about the discussion that we had on interspecies relationships. Apparently made clear that Narn do have relationships with human females, but Centauri do not, even though they appreciate the female form. So that was good. And I think that's all the comments that we got.
So, yeah, Narn tab A can work into a human slot B or something. Right. Well, not. I did want to, before we go to Karen, she has some more. This is very appropriate. And so, Dean, if you're listening, or anyone else who doesn't want to hear political, skip ahead 15 seconds. But JMS tweeted, A little bit ago, instead of typing Mr. Musk, I wrote Mr. M, then considered deleting it because readers might think I was referencing Mr. Morden. Then I thought, quote, well, now hang on a minute, end quote. So.
Yeah. Are they the
same?
Yeah.
So very funny. All right, Karen, do we got any emails?
I got one more.
Oh, okay, please, Lou.
Departure is up as well. Christian Schoenwell. Sorry if I butchered your last name, Christian. He said that he remembers back in the day it took him a few episodes to warm up to Sheridan. He really liked Sinclair because he was not the stereotypical SFTV commander. I think it's also a great testament to JMS and his people that he also funded a lot of Michael O'Hare's treatment. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And he's also referring, I guess, Karen, you mentioned Don and Mike, right? Was that you?
Yeah, so that they were on an episode.
Northern Virginia. So he says he still listens to Mike's podcast. So I guess Mike is podcasting. Yep. So that's interesting.
So is Don. They're both still, but not together.
Yeah, they appeared in the episode. They will appear in the episode of Voice in the Wilderness Part 1. They play two businessmen, part of a negotiation that Thalia was monitoring as a. I think we saw them, wasn't it? As monitoring as a commercial telepet. Yeah, that's a season 1 episode.
I'm going to have to go back and look at it because, like he says, Christian, that they snuck lines in, spoken lines in, that they couldn't take out in order to get their SAG cards. And I love that they did that, they snuck that in. So. Yeah.
Texas Analshock says, Lucky Socks? That had me burst out laughing. Jesse, write that down, that Karen said that. You know why.
Yes.
Okay. Chris M says the Rogue Minbari always remind me of Japanese soldiers. That's pretty cool. And he also compliments JMS on how he handled Michael O'Hare's wishes about his situation. So Simon said to me, Lou, you can take heart that Sheridan wasn't convinced by the idea of Minbari reincarnation, and neither was President Clark. So that's cool. It's good to know.
Good.
Graham also says Bruce Bachleiner saved the show in many ways. So obviously a big Bruce fan there.
Yeah.
And then there's more comments about Michael O'Hare's situation. And then Texas says, that was fast, 2 in 1 day. And he's talking about that I released these last two episodes fairly close together. And I just said to him, don't get used to it.
Yes, absolutely.
That's just because we had the episodes stacked up and I was in a groove and was able to get them out very quickly. So that's why that happened. Now we're back to our regular schedule. So they'll probably be out usually every Wednesday, I would say, after we record them on a Sunday.
Good. All right. And you will find out what a la shock means down the road.
Oh, okay.
So, yes. Karen, I know we've gone long, but...
Well, it was a packed episode. So,
yes, it was.
Okay, so this is this from Nathan? I didn't put the name.
Yeah, I think so.
Regarding your in-season cliffhanger for Talk After Chrysalis, there was none. PTEN had a really strange schedule for Babylon 5. It didn't run like most series. It premiered in the winter and ran until mid-August and skipped the last episode. Then Chrysalis was shown in the last week of October, and Points of Departure was the next week. So that you said something about that, Jesse.
Yes.
That it wasn't a cliffhanger over the
they
summer.
Didn't have to wait a long time.
Right,
yeah.
Right. But also some parts of the series were shown weeks to months earlier in the UK, Chrysalis being one of them. So Usenet users from across the pond ran a whole operation trying not to spoil Americans. So
that's nice.
I mean, good for England. Sheridan's character is interesting. JMS had 2 ideas for a captain, world-weary veteran with PTSD and a war hero. He chose the first one, but turns out he had to use another one because of Michael O'Hare leaving.
Yes.
Revelation about the souls is a little misplaced. I agree. Delenn should have delivered that after she comes out of the cocoon like she promised in Chrysalis. Problem is, there would be no Sinclair to talk to, and with the lack of main fulcrum of Minbari surrender, really there's no reason to do it. So I guess JMS thought that the suicidal crew of military caste Minbari would be reason enough.
Yeah.
And then we got a comment again about Chrysalis. A little bit of a story about this episode. PTEN was really only partially formed as a network. Many local stations treated it more like a block of syndicated shows. Yeah, TNT was like that too, if I remember correctly.
Right.
This meant airtimes could easily be preempted by things like sports. PTEN also held this episode until the week before the season 2 premiere. And again, that's what he says. I don't have the experience of seeing this episode without knowing where all the plot points would lead. So I very much enjoyed hearing the newbies' perspectives on the episode. Fortunately, season 2 starts with enough of a recap that we were able to pick up and follow along. I always wondered if G'Kar's interest in human females is that they superficially look like Centauri women, yet are probably more available to him.
I like that.
I like that theory too a lot. I think that is, yes.
Yeah. And again, on Porch of Departure, which he sends another one, I don't think anyone on your show was excessively harsh when we talked about O'Hare. As you said, you do have to review the show as it appears. I do find that it usually changes people's view in retrospect. I would also suggest you might want to pay attention to the correlation to the better performances and the director for the episode. One of the podcasts I listened to in the past, which is the audio guide to Babylon 5, really drew my attention to how much that influences the performances and that there are distinct patterns there with certain directors. So, yeah, and he mentions continuity and stuff like that, but I'll leave it there.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. We don't dwell on that very much, who's the director or not. We talk about that. So mostly the stories, but yeah, it that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Just one follow up. I know because Karen didn't read the last part. Jesse, is this the thing about the gun ports? Is this what you were referencing to at one point? This would be something important, because I don't even remember catching that in this episode, to be honest, in Legacies, but I don't know.
Not quite, kind of, sort of.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good enough.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody, for the feedback. Keep pumping it in. We appreciate it.
Yes. Yeah, very much. We appreciate you. Guys, this was a long one, but had a lot of stuff to talk.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to give us feedback, we would love to hear from you. We are at JKL Media. Why am I drawing a blank? Oh, forget it. I'll give that in a minute. I am at Jesse Jackson DFW. I know. And we are at, Karen, you are at?
Well, our email is jklb5podcast@gmail.com.
Thank you. I was
You're welcome.
just pulling that up.
That's
so
okay.
Yes.
No problem. And I am at Elevaria at the Twitter machine and all that. I'm also at Elevaria Counter Social, which is something I am eyeing. Okay. I won't say why, but we did mention him just a minute ago.
Yes.
So far, Twitter's okay. So I'm still on Twitter plenty, and at Elevaria, just you can search that if you care enough, and you'll find me.
Good. All right. And Lou?
You can find me on YouTube at Lou's Reviews, where you'll find these episodes, Babylon 5 episodes, as well as Stephen King and the Writers podcast and our one-off JKLM Media specials. We're going to be doing Station 11. And on the Twitter, you can find me at Lou W. Sitzma or S. King Podcast.
Yeah, we've also done some discussions of Fairy Tale, Stephen King's excellent novel. I stress, if you have not read that, if it's been a while since you've read a Stephen King novel, this is one to get back in. This was really him going to form, having fun with the fairy tale genre and making it his own. So I really recommend that novel. It is just amazing. All right, guys, we did it.
Mm-hmm.
Second episode. We now can go watch episode 3. We'll be back next week. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Lou. Thank you, listeners. Be safe and be kind to each other. Talk to you soon. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
And scene.